So welcome to the most open political movement in Canada. See, when the Harper Conservatives spent Stephen Harper, Mr. Harper's facial expression. Stephen Harper, then Stephen Harper.
The Prime Minister made a speech a couple weeks ago at the Liberal Convention. Let's be positive though, surely it couldn't be that cringy, could it? Let's start the cringe timer.
It is now yours to shape and build and grow. We need your enthusiasm and ideas, your positivity and your energy. But most of all, we need your hope and hard work.
1 minute, we almost made it 1 minute, and that's not counting the opening cringe montage. Be positive, Andrew, be positive.
See, when the Harper Conservatives spent millions upon millions of dollars on personal attacks and the politics of fear and division, we didn't join them in the gutter.
He's right, though. He's right on that one. The Liberals wouldn't say anything mean, and they certainly wouldn't develop any attack ads against their opponents. Get this out of here. Get it out of here.
There's the Doug Ford you think you know, and then there's the real Doug Ford, who'll give corporations huge tax cuts, but take the minimum wage raise right out of hardworking people's pockets. Who'll fire 40,000 people, including teachers and nurses, put restrictions on a woman's right to decide her own pregnancy, and won't make big business pay a cent to address climate change.
Attack ads are stupid, as you can see. For that one, they just took some articles that they liked from newspapers and put it into video format. Stunning and brave. I think it's pretty common for people not to think that a person looks good simply by them ripping apart somebody else. If you want to experience that, guys, go ahead and try to get a girl by shit-talking all the other guys she knows, and let me know how that works out. I hear white knighting always works.
But let me tell you this. We can stack our record up against any governments.
Can you? Can you really?
And yet still, there are folks who would claim that we are all talk and no action. Well, go and tell that to the 618,000 Canadians who have landed a new job since the fall of 2015.
Okay, jobs are good, talking about jobs are good, and I think this is the only part of his speech that really actually means anything. But they do try to confuse people with the numbers, not just Trudeau. Most governments, when talking about jobs, they try to do this. So let's look at what the numbers are. For example, March this year, StatsCan says the labor force produced 68,300 full-time positions last month and shed 35,900 part-time jobs. So right away, when you subtract those, that's only 32,400 jobs. However, the survey shows that 19,600 of the new employee positions were created in the public sector, while the number of private sector workers declined by 7,000. So really, they created 12,800 private sector jobs and over 9,000 government jobs. And even the Toronto Star, who really loves the government and the Liberals, had this to say.
Tell who to move.
I'm talking to the camera.
That's stupid.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to tell you that more government jobs aren't exactly a good thing. I mean, government agencies are slow, they're inefficient, and everybody knows, and I mean everybody, that government jobs are way overpaid for the amount of work that they have to do. That's just being honest.
And you just try telling that to the more than 50,000 Syrians who would still be fleeing persecution if the Conservatives had had their way, but who instead are building communities and growing the economy all across our country today.
Okay, again with the Syrians, which I've mentioned, get better healthcare than Canadians, obviously, you know that. Besides us being nice and friendly, this is not really a thing to brag about. But that does not stop the audience from giving a Kim Jong-un style applause here. Be nice, Andrew. No comparing to dictators. Why is this not a good point to brag about? Because Syrian refugees cost us a lot of money. I love being nice to people, I love being charitable, but again, we have no money. So from the government website about the refugees, it says, statistics over the past decade show that 50% of privately sponsored refugees and 10% of the government-assisted refugees had employment income in their first year. These results from the Rapid Impact Evaluation of the Syrian Refugee Initiative. That sounds so important. The Rapid Impact Initiative. Brought to you by Fox. Which was conducted to assess the early outcomes of the 2015-16 Syrian Refugee Initiative is in line with these figures. A study by Western University also finds, after 5 years of living in Canada, only 58% of government-sponsored refugees are employed. This percentage reduces to 54% after refugees have spent 10 years in Canada. So refugees are above and beyond the most unemployed group of people in Canada. I mean, that makes sense and we know that going into it, but again, this is costing us money that we don't have. I know we want to help people, but at the end of the day, would you rather have your money going to people from other countries or keeping it for yourself, the little of it you have? I don't think it's unreasonable or hateful for a person with not a lot of money to prefer that they get to keep their money.
But when you hear folks making that argument, think of Tareq Haddad, who spoke to you here yesterday. Tareq was living in Syria with his family and started his chocolate business when the war broke out 7 years ago. The war destroyed his community, killed members of his family, his friends and loved ones. And it's a war that made him cynical and downcast about an uncertain future. And today, not only is Tareq safe, but he's making a huge contribution to the Antigonish community in Nova Scotia and to the whole of Canada.
So here again, he talks about more refugee success stories to make everybody feel good. And then he talks about Alan Kurdi. Kurdi was the deceased boy who washed up on a beach, literally, and his photograph was taken, and it's essentially what started the whole debate of should we bring over Syrians into Canada. The Prime Minister, though, focuses so much on these feel-good stories in his speech, it feels pretty manipulative and kind of pointless. He doesn't really mention anything else about the direction of the country besides the little he talked about jobs.
With Canadians who've been excluded, we work in even harder to include them. And when we're faced with the fundamental injustice, that is the gender wage gap, we do something about it, and we work hard to make sure that all Canadians enjoy equal opportunities to succeed, be they men or women.
Good God. Why does this have to be debunked like every 3 months? Andrew, you're not being nice.
Homer, you're not listening.
New song.
And why do we do this? Well, we're feminists.
Oh man, why?
Positive politics means you fight for your ideas. You don't demonize your opponents.
We don't demonize our opponents, you guys.
There's the Doug Ford you think you know, and then there's the real Doug Ford.
So to summarize, it was about 6 minutes on jobs, which was the same thing over and over, and 14 minutes about virtue signaling and how wonderful we are as Canadians to take people from underprivileged places into our country, and then 7 minutes about how bad the Conservatives are, with like 10 mentions of Stephen Harper for some reason.
See, when the Harper Conservatives spent Stephen Harper, Mr. Harper's facial expression. Stephen Harper.
Still Stephen Harper, then Stephen Harper.
Andrew, there has to be something you liked about it. Be positive, would you? Gosh darn it. Yeah, like I said, I like the part about Conservatives being our good neighbors, talking about how we have to be nice to people even though we have political disagreements, even though that is right after he shit on them for a good 7 minutes. And I like the part where he mentioned Stephen Harper for some reason a lot of times. That was cool. No, Andrew, a real answer, please. All right. I love the part about diversity, okay? Multiculturalism is our strength. Gender diversity and the gender pay gap is the most important thing. Tax everyone. Take all of our money. I'm sick of it. Can't you see we're about love? Can't you see that love wins? Everything about love wins.
Good answer.
Everything is about feelings, Andrew, and if you don't get on board, well then I'm afraid there might not be a place for you here.
Money, damn if they gon' take it from me. Super swag, bet I get you naked, honey. You know my stomp ground, some Jamaica dummy. Ain't no comp round, 6 or 7 acres coming. They mad I got it, never should've let me through. Body full of diamonds.